Let us go ahead and study simple interest. We'll look at what interest means. We'll also look at the vocabulary or the words or the terms that are used when we deal with simple interest. We're going to examine steps that are involved when we solve simple interest problems, and we're going to solve some examples. Now, what is interest? Interest is the cost of borrowing money. And usually this interest is a percent per year of the amount you borrow. For example, if a person borrows $100 and pays back $104, the person has paid an interest of $4 on the amount borrowed. So your interest is $4, or the cost of borrowing $100 is $4. Now let's take a look at the terms that are used when we're dealing with interest or simple interest. P is the principal, which is the amount that was borrowed. Rate, which is noted by R, is the percent the borrower is expected to pay. So that's where the cost is tied to the rate. And time is the period for which the money is borrowed, or we can say the duration. And then our interest now is the extra amount of money the borrower is expected to pay after the term of the loan. So this interest I is actually the cost of borrowing the money based on the terms given. Now, simple interest, we calculate it using this formula. Simple interest I is the product of the principal, the rate, and the time. Important things to note here is your time will be in years. If you have it in months, you have to convert to years, and your rate must be expressed as a percent. So let's take a look at some steps that we follow. I always believe in making sure that you start off with identifying the most important terms or the most important components of the question. So you want to identify the principal, the rate, the time, and the interest if possible, because in some questions you may be given the interest and you may be asked to look for either the rate, the time, or the principal. So I like to always do it this way. And you want to convert the rate to percent and the time to years. And then we're going to substitute the variables into the equation I equal to P multiplied by R multiplied by T, and then we'll solve the resulting equations. Now I'm going to show you how to apply this. So Nate borrows $700 for 3 years at 6% simple interest. What interest does he pay? So our principal, which is the amount borrowed, is $700. Our rate is 6%. Our time is 3 years. So now we're going to plug in the formula. We're going to indicate what the formula is. Our interest is principal multiplied by rate multiplied by time. So now we're going to substitute next. We don't know what our interest is because that's what we're looking for. Principal is 700. Rate is 6 over 100. Some schools of thought will tell you to convert the rate to decimals, but I don't like that approach because I want to stay away from the calculator as much as possible. So I want to show you how you can solve this without actually being reliant on a calculator. And then your time is 3 years. So this is going to give us 700 times 6 times 3 divided by 100. So now you have 700 on the top, on the numerator, and then 100 in your denominator. So zeros can cross out zeros if they are at the end of the number. Zeros can cross out zeros. So now we're left with 7 times 6 times 3 over 1. 7 times 6 is 42. 42 times 3 2 times 3 is 6, 4 times 3 is 12. So this is going to give us 126. So our interest is going to be $126. Rebecca borrows $900 at a rate of 5% simple interest. If she paid an interest of $31.50, for how long did she borrow the money? So let's start by indicating what our terms are. The principal is $900 because that's the amount borrowed. The rate is 5%. The time is unknown, so I'm going to put a question mark there. And then our interest is $31.50. So now let's write our formula. Our formula is I is equal to P multiplied by R multiplied by T. So now let's substitute. I is 31.50 equal to P, that is 900. R is 5/100. And T is unknown, so I'm just going to put a T right there. So now our equation becomes 31.50 equal to 900 times 5 times T over 100. So now we can simplify this. We can cross out the zeros here, cross out the zeros. So 31.50 equal to 45T. So now we're going to divide both sides by 45. Okay, so now we want to divide 31.50 by 45. So now let's go over to the side. So T is equal to 31.50 over 45. Now what I'm going to do here is, because you have a decimal on the numerator and there's no decimal in the denominator, there are two decimal places on the numerator, so I'm going to multiply both by 100. So we have 31.50 times 100 divided by 45 times 100. So this is going to give us 3150 divided by 4500. So we cross this out. And then 315 divided by 450. Let's go ahead and do that right here. 315 divided by 450. You can divide this by 3 and you have 105 divided by 150. You can divide by 3 again, you have 35 divided by 50. And you can divide by 5, we have 7/10. So this is going to be 7/10. So therefore, T is 7/10 of a year. Or if you want to multiply that, you can say 7/10 times 12. You divide by 2, you have 5. Divide by 2, you have 6. This is going to be 42/5, which is 82/5 months. So that's another way you can go about it. This is, you can choose either this 7/10 of a year or 8/5 months. Chris borrows $15,000 for 5 years at 2.5% simple interest. What interest does he pay? So our principal is $15,000. Our rate is 2.5%. Our time is 5 years. Our formula for interest, simple interest, is principal multiplied by rate multiplied by time. So here our interest is unknown because that's what we're looking for. So I is equal to P is 15,000, rate is 2.5 over 100, and time is 5. So now I is equal to 15,000 times 2.5 times 5 divided by 100. So zeros, we'll cross out zeros. So now we have 150 multiplied by 2.5 multiplied by 5. So let's look at 150 multiplied by 2.5. 150, 2.5. We multiply this. 0 multiplied by 5, we have 0. 5 multiplied by 5, we have 25. So we're going to write the 5 and carry up the 2. 1 multiplied by 5 is 5 plus 2. That's going to give us 7. Then we put a 0 out here. 0 multiplied by 2, we have 0. 5 multiplied by 2, we have 10. So we put a 0 here and we bring up a 1. 1 multiplied by 2, we have 2 plus 1. That's 3. I'm going to put a 0 here to make everything the same number of digits. So 0 plus 0, we have 0. 5 plus 0, we have 5. 7 plus 0, we have 7. And then 3 plus 0, we have 3. We have 1 decimal, so we're going to come right here. So now we multiply 375 by 5. So we have 5 multiplied by 5, we have 25. You write 5, you carry up a 2. 7 multiplied by 5, 35. Plus 2, we have 37. So you write a 7, you carry up a 3. 3 multiplied by 5, we have 15. Plus 3, we have 18. So this is going to give us 1875. Therefore, our simple interest is going to be 1,875. Final example. Sharon borrows an amount of money for 2 years at 1.2% simple interest. If she paid a $72 interest on the amount of money borrowed, how much money did she borrow? So let's look for principal. We don't know what that is. Rate is 1.2%. Time is 2 years. And our interest is $72. So our simple interest formula is principal multiplied by rate multiplied by time. And our interest will substitute what we know. So 72 is P multiplied by rate is 1.2 over 100. Time is 2 years. So this is going to give us 72 is going to be principal times 1.2 times 2 over 100. So now this is over 1. I can do a cross product here. Let me use a different color to show cross product. I can do a cross product here, and what that means is that I have 72 times 100 is equal to P times 1.2 times 2, which is equal to P times 2.4. Okay, so this is 7,200. Now we can divide by 2.4 on both sides. Divide by 2.4. So 7,200 divided by 2.4. So because I'm going to change the divisor to a whole number, I'm going to move our decimal one place here. So that means I'm going to put a 0 at the end here. So 72 divided by 24, we have 3. 3 times 24, we have 72. And then I'm going to bring down, I'm just using a shortcut here. And so I'm going to just put these zeros here. So therefore, 3,000 is equal to P. So our principal is $3,000.